lot of economists have been talking about the vibecession and the fact that Canadians just aren't feeling good and that is having real economic consequences.
Hey folks, it's me. Hi, I'm Mo Amir. It's me. And this is VANCOLOUR, British Columbia's bona fide culture and politics TV talk show. Tonight, this is Swift-Couver. Fiona Forbes will report on the impact that Taylor Swift will have on Vancouver as she rolls through town to cap off the Eras Tour. Did you blow the bank to get your tickets? Speaking of spending lavish amounts of money, are you going all out on your Christmas shopping? In this economy? Don Chubey will talk about Canadian spending trends this holiday season in our current Vibe Session. Now you might be wondering, what is a Vibe Session, as Canadian Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland called it? Well, here to explain is a lifelong entrepreneur, financial columnist, and partner of Foundation Wealth, Mark Ting. Mark, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So I'm a business school graduate, but I've never heard the term Vibe Session. What is that?
So Vibe Session is basically the disconnect between the real economy, the economic data, and maybe how consumers like you and I are feeling about our lot in life financially. So what I'm guessing Chrystia Freeland's inferring to is that we might feel sort of negative, almost glass half empty when it comes to our personal finances. But in reality, the economy is doing okay.
Okay, I know that a lot of Canadians are feeling like the economy is not in great shape. Does Chrystia Freeland and other people that say that we're in a Vibe Session, do they have a point?
I feel our economy is not in great shape. Okay. I would probably say, if I look at the data, so I'm being completely objective here, and I look at our GDP per capita. So that's basically the productivity that each person, each worker has.
Yeah.
And it's been on a steady decline. And we used to be fairly close to the high end of the list of the G7s, and now we're getting to the lower end in terms of productivity. And then we just look at what's going on in life. I mean, I'm just looking at my own life. Like, it feels like a recession. I would say that we would be in recession. We've had contraction in our GDP for the last 6 sessions. So we're definitely not, these are not good things.
Are we in a technical recession?
No, but we brought in a ton of people. We brought in millions of people, and that's sort of, that's an economic boost. That's like a shot in the arm.
Right.
Because people come in, they spend money, either their own because they're settling here, or refugees, they get a lot of money from the government, and that money flows through the economy. If it wasn't for that, I would say we'd be in a recession. We would have been in a recession a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I mean, my wife got laid off this year.
Sorry to hear that.
She's good. She got another job.
Okay.
But my son also, he came back from Japan, and he's 19. He had jobs in the service industry, working for hotels. He came back expecting to be able to work for 2.5 months before he goes back to Japan. Yeah. He tried every day. He could not get a job. So that's where we're sort of getting. This is why that vibe of being sort of negative, I think it's justified, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, certainly everything feels like it's more expensive, and we see it when we pay our bills, our credit card bills, that everything is more expensive. When it comes to the forecast, though, whether it's vibes or the economic reality, are things looking up at least?
Let's look at the data, right? The Canadian dollar. Like, lots of people have been talking about the Canadian dollar. It's also been trending down, and it's had a couple blips, actually spikes down. Why is that? The Canadian dollar is kind of like a barometer for an economy. Essentially, if our economy is doing well, then people come here, investments, businesses want to send their money here, spend money, capital expenditures, but that's not the case.
Right.
We're seeing that being pushed back out, or companies will either look at Canada and just avoid it, go somewhere like the US or somewhere else, or they'll take a look at their complete investment and they'll think it's a sunken cost. Let's move on. So these are not good signs. I don't want to be super negative. Like, Canada has so much going for it in terms of like our productivity is not great right now, but that could turn around because the Canadian dollar being weaker is actually it is a tailwind. Okay. Because things are cheaper. But our reputation is not good.
I thought if the dollar goes down, then things become more expensive, or at least imported goods become more expensive.
Imported goods.
Okay.
But like if you're making a movie or something like that, our goods are cheaper.
Oh, for other countries to buy.
So if we're exporters, then all of a sudden we get a discount. Hey, Black Friday, right? Canadian dollars cheaper by 30%. So people might visit here compared to the US, for example, which would boost our GDP.
Sure. Is there a sense of a self-fulfilling prophecy, though, regardless of the actual economic data? If people are not feeling good about the economy, they might spend less, they might, not go on those trips. So is there a self-fulfilling philosophy that Chrystia Freeland is kind of getting at there?
I guess so. I mean, she's trying to have these incentives so people feel better about themselves and spend more. But it's true. Yeah. If people don't feel great, they will spend less. And the data is showing that we are actually not, we are spending. We're still spending.
Oh.
So it's like, so
it's an inverse vibe session where maybe we're spending where we shouldn't be, but the economic data isn't there.
We're taking on way more debt too. Like we're seeing our debt levels, our credit cards levels going higher.
Yeah.
So on one side, like
none of this sounds good, Mark.
Yes and no, because our stock market's at an all-time high as well. So if we go even deeper, it's all about the debasement of our currency, and that's what inflation is. But we don't have to go there. That'll get pretty complicated. But essentially, people are spending as if we're not in a recession. People are still spending, trying to keep up with the Joneses, still going on those vacations, but they're taking on more debt to do this.
Right.
And I guess the government is too. So like the government's adding a lot of debt too. So that keeps things going. So that should help the vibe, but there's always unintended consequences. Chickens have to come to roost. We're going to have to pay this back either in the way of inflation or job losses, or hopefully, we recover and things go well. And that's also a possibility, because if the macroeconomic of China starts doing really well because they're struggling and they start needing more commodities, that could save us. I just wouldn't be counting on that.
Yeah. Now, really quickly, in about a minute, we do have a GST holiday that's coming up. Yeah. We're getting $250 from the federal government. Is that going to maybe improve the vibes, if not the economic realities?
I don't think so. I see a lot of people complain about it. Almost every economist I've spoken to doesn't like it. There's people who potentially make $299,000 a year getting a $250 rebate check.
Right.
Does that make sense? So you got the upper echelon getting paid, the lower echelon getting paid. They could probably use it, but I just think there's better ways to do that. Maybe improving the GST credit, because that's income tested. But you also got to remember it's $6 billion that we don't have. So that's going to be added to our deficit. And I just think there's better uses for that money. So it will be a little bit of a sugar high. But when I talk to economists and I talk to business owners, they don't like it because it's going to cost them thousands of dollars to sort of figure this out and do the calculations. So not the best policy in my mind.
Mark, a pessimistic, but I think realistic assessment of where we're at. I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Folks, that was Mark Ting, partner and portfolio manager at Foundation Wealth. Now, after some business, are the economic vibes or economic realities affecting your Christmas shopping? Don Chubet will assess how Canadian shoppers are feeling this holiday season up next.